Last night was what the kids called a movie, a feature film, a 7-hour live stream, Wastelanders story complete. You fine folks were incredible in the chat. We were live till 4 a.m. I'm running on 5 hours of sleep right now, so if I'm a little less like whatever that is, just know it's because I'm exhausted. But as I said, the main story for Wastelanders has been completed. I took the side of the Raiders. Now all that's left is finishing the ally quest lines, farming gold bullion, essentially the end game of Wastelanders. What does that stack up to? And then I'll be able to deliver my review. But with all of that in mind, when you start to get to the end game, you can't help but think, what's next? And when we have a great framework like Wastelanders for 76, it's a little more exciting. Now we know a couple of things that are coming to Fallout 76, but there's also been some leaks. There's a drippy faucet over at Bethesda, to say the least, and we're gonna get into all of that as well. But let's start with what we know for sure is coming, whether it's sooner or later. Now, to save myself from sounding repetitive, we're gonna briefly go over one Appalachia, which Bethesda did confirm was gonna be added to the game at some point in time at Bethesda Game Days during their PAX East panel. For those who are new here and don't know what that is, pretty much this adjusts the levels in zones. So if you're level 5, you're fighting level 5 enemies, but if you're level 50 in a level 5 zone, they'll scale up to level 50. This will help the game in a tremendous fashion because the XP gains in 76 can suck quite a bit. Level progression has sort of been hindered, and I really would like, as someone who's dying to respec their character, appreciate leveling up in a quicker manner if they're not going to add just respeccing in general. So yeah, that update personally for me can't come soon enough, but the other thing a lot of folks have talked about is modding, and Bethesda was awfully quiet on 76's modding, but we recently got an update through Pete Hines over on a podcast he guested on called Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, which I believe is quite popular. I've never given it a listen, but anyway, here's what Pete Hines had to say. I'll have that podcast linked in the description down below. Give it a listen. It seems like a good show.
You know, the M word is still floating out there. People wanting to know about, hey, what about mods? And you know, that's always been something that we've brought to the Fallout franchise based on the stuff we did in Elder Scrolls, and something that at some point I'd like to see us bring an answer and a solution to for folks who want to change their experience in some ways. So, but you know, the time frame I'm talking about there is not, and hey, let's see if we can pull all that off by June, right? We're talking about years, like over the next few years, how are we going to continue to grow? But again, I think there's so much stuff on a system level that they've done with some of the instancing stuff and other things that will really open up a great base for us to build new content and new things for players going forward. And I'm excited for what we have planned, and I'm excited to see what players do with that.
So yes, we don't know when it's coming. Bethesda is saying it still is happening, so at least that's a good thing, but I think given 76's online nature and its ability to get hacked and exploited so easily, that yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Bethesda's pushing it back until they feel a little more confident, or they're just riding this high wave and just saying, you know what, let's enjoy Wastelanders. The game's got mostly positive reviews on Steam. We'll get into that in a later video. But yeah, if they just want to enjoy things right now, I get it. There's also an AMA happening over on Reddit for Fallout 76 this Thursday, April 23rd at 11 a.m. So I imagine this is where we'll get a decent amount of questions answered about Wastelanders, but also future content coming to 76. And perhaps some of these leaks that have been happening that we're just gonna get into now will be confirmed during that AMA. So let's take a look at that. Starting off, let's look at new weapons and armor. I think that's kind of the most exciting thing for most people, on top of quests and the surprising addition of pets maybe being in 76. Now, one thing to be aware of, the first two leaks I'm going to show you here, being a power armor set as well as a weapon, are older in the scheme of things. They're not like super dated. They're back when the PTS started, so sometime around later February. That means some of you may have actually seen these leaks, and just know that deeper into the video we get into some of the newer stuff like pets, as you've seen in the title. I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that in case they were looking for the newer content. You can skip ahead. I'll have a timestamp on screen so you know where to go to. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I did some cleanup duty here and covered everything that I've seen so far when it comes to post-Wastelanders leaks. So there is the prototype Enclave armor. It's much like another aspect of these leaks where this one was accidentally put into players' hands well before I think Bethesda wanted to launch them. As we can see, it's an older Enclave armor, and a lot like what we'll be discussing soon, you'll probably eventually find this in the Atomic Shop. I doubt this has any special stats or anything. I imagine it's a unique skin, but it does look good, And I'm still against the atomic shop in a lot of ways, but one thing I did notice when playing a substantial amount of Wastelanders is that I've been getting a lot more atoms, like a ton. I think they made the dailies and the weeklies a lot more attainable, a little more feasible to get your hands on the atoms, and it's been a little more fun now because of that, hopping in and just doing a couple of quests because you're working towards a new cosmetic that you can put on your character. And so I've appreciated that. I've gone from, I think I started off Wastelanders at about 450 or 500 atoms, and now I'm up to 1,000. So, I mean, that's pretty good, man, and I'm happy about that. That's something that they've needed to adjust for a long while, and it's something that they didn't talk about, which I think is a little admirable, because they could have definitely, you know, fluffed it up and been like, hey, look how good we are. And like I said, Atomic Shop still has a long way to go, but just know, if you play the game, you do get some atoms, which is nice. We'll see if that stays in the long run, because much like when 76 first launched, you got a lot of atoms up front, and then eventually it died off. But it seems like the difference here is that the dailies and weeklies have been adjusted to be a little more attainable, which I think is really good, because I want some of the stuff in the shop, but I ain't paying for it. I'm gonna be honest, I'll play your game, but I ain't paying. The next one is a weapon, the R91. Now, I imagine this is probably a skin, because if the weapon itself was ready, it most likely would have been jam-packed into Wastelanders with all of the other weapons that they've added to the game through the plans. I imagine, given the look of the R91, it's a little reminiscent of the assault rifles we've seen in, for example, Fallout 3. And because of that, it's probably a skin, which I don't get. I'm sure it's something with releasing it. Maybe it's easier for developers. Maybe it's something with testing, making sure it works in the world. There's got to be something behind it, because to me, as just a player, I look at it and say, why not just release a whole new weapon? Wouldn't that be exciting? Like, hey, now you can build the R91. Like I've always said, Bethesda should just try to, in increments, release little pieces of armor, little weapons that you can just build over time. Like, I just like the idea of that, man. Like, new weapons every month or something like that. That'd be dope. Now, one problem that 76 Wastelanders has presented is reputation farming and gold bullion farming. More so the former, which is the reputation, because we have 2 dailies for the raiders that you can alternate between doing only one of those a day to help get your rep up. And when your reputation goes up, you unlock better plans at Regs, where he'll sell you all manner of new items for the gold bullions. Sadly though, on the settler side, you only have one single daily that you can do, and it's pretty quick. You just end up tracking someone down and either killing them or sparing them, and then bringing back the part that the settlers needed. And so people want a little variety, and I understand that. There's nothing fun about doing the same quest every day to get your settlers' reputation up. And it seems like Bethesda had the plan to bring a little bit more to the table for settlers, but it was apparently cut. It seems that there was a mentioning of maybe getting something for Sonny, who is the Protectron who runs a shop inside Foundation, the home of the settlers. And I imagine at some point in time these will be added. It just makes sense to build on top of what Wastelanders has already created in the terms of dailies and reputation building. I understand Bethesda's infrastructure of making you want to play each day and get the reputation up. I just think the game could do with having a little bit more to get said rep up, not just one mission and then you're done. I'm glad it's quick and easy, so later in the game you don't have to spend all day playing, but having more options for those who want to spend more time playing 76 would be pretty good. And I think for other players, it would probably keep them ingrained in the game a little bit longer than Bethesda expected. But it seems like that was their original plan, to have more content that supported the reputation system. It's just that it had to get cut, or maybe it wasn't ready or didn't work as well. And there is one quest, and sadly it's the final quest in the game when you play on the Raider side, that is quite a bit buggy. So Bethesda's naturally not going to cut the last mission, but if this daily was buggy, I'm glad they did cut it out. Lastly is pets. Pets seem to be coming to Fallout 76. This was something that my stream actually put me on alert for. Check it out. Okay. Pet trick sit, pet trick speak, pet trick rollover, pet trick play dead. Wow, okay. So they are indeed adding animals into Fallout 76. I guess that makes sense, just based off dog meat. Okay, that's kind of exciting. Yeah, if you guys were at that stream, I was a complete moron trying to find it. Everyone was like, top row, top row. So I was looking at like where you press L1, R1, and it would say like, yes, no, like pretty much every emote there, but they were actually talking about the legit top row of emotes. And yeah, so there's like pet tricks to tell them to sit, stay, whatever. And I think this would be cool. It kind of builds off the ally system. I imagine these pets will just stay at your camp if they can follow you around, I wonder if they're going to help in combat. Will you be able to, kind of like with dog meat, just give them tons of items? Will they become a second inventory space? Because naturally, that brings about, once again, the atomic shop. Oh, the atomic shop, man. This is just that monkey wrench in the middle of things, right? I'm glad they're giving us more add-ons, but still, like, when you look at Fallout 4's Creation Club, we saw how Bethesda released a ton of different animal skins there, golden retrievers, Dalmatians, what have you, and naturally, that's just gonna be put right into 76. Let's be honest. Now, in a perfect world, this is free, and Bethesda ties a little quest to it, and then this little buddy you get adds to the mechanics of the game. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, this is similar to what I just mentioned with the Enclave power armor, where Bethesda accidentally let this into players' hands, this time just in the form of seeing the emotes actually existing, which means it's more than likely coming at some point in time. And I think that's actually an exciting premise. Sadly, with all of what I've mentioned here today, we have no idea when. I imagine pets are probably the closest, just because that was literally in the game. Same thing with the Enclave power armor, unless they're doing it in like a full pack and there's more that we haven't seen yet. I think one Appalachia would more than likely be a summer update to synchronize with something else significant happening in Fallout 76. Because if they didn't launch it right with Wastelanders, probably they didn't have enough time, but if they didn't launch it right with Wastelanders, then I feel like they're going to wait for something else to pull in a lot of players, because one Appalachia benefits current players, as I explained earlier, with the leveling process, but it also really helps with new players coming in and not feeling left behind if their friends level 90 or 100, or from what I've seen online, there are people who are in the 200s and 300s. Okay. But yeah, I'd say keep an eye on that AMA that's happening for Fallout 76 this Thursday. Obviously, we always have the Inside the Vault series that will give us more information every week on what's happening in Fallout 76. I always like that system. I said Bethesda had a good framework there for delivering information. Now they just needed a more interesting game. Now we have that, so covering 76 is actually pretty fun. But that does it for everything that's leaked so far. I'll try to keep my eyes peeled for anything new happening in Wastelanders. Let me know what you guys think of all these leaks in the comments down below. Pets, weapons, armor, dailies, all that stuff. It seems pretty cool. So let me know, and I'll talk with all of you soon. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support all this content. We're nearing that record high in patrons, and you guys have been ultra supportive. I can't put into words how honored I am about it, really. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your you-know-whats. I really do appreciate it. And I'll talk with all of you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.